welcome to Make the Welcome Video on a Dime, Brian Eady.
Yes.
Brian Eady. Brian is a Los Angeles filmmaker who's passionate about telling the stories of faith and creating philanthropic opportunities using those stories. He was raised by a devout Catholic and a Lutheran minister. He married an Episcopalian, and the rest is history. He attends All Saints Beverly Hills, where he directed a film called Reconcile. It's very good. If you get a chance to watch it, it's on Vimeo. And he used parishioners from All Saints and just a couple actors, and it was this beautiful story. We watched it in our diocesan staff meeting, and people were crying. I mean, it was just so good. So, with that, I welcome Brian.
I'm going to start by giving probably the worst preface to a conversation. I'm not an expert church video maker. I have grown up with this stuff. I'm around it. I've grown up in the church, and I'm going to kind of share what my experience has been and our church's experience has been, and hopefully make this a conversation as opposed to a step-by-step of how you do this, because we're all figuring it out as we go. As I said, my name is Brian, and I live in Los Angeles. I go to All Saints Episcopal Church in Beverly Hills, and I grew up going to both churches every Sunday. We were the sextons of the Catholic Church, and we did Catholic on Saturday and Lutheran on Sunday. And my parents still do that every weekend. So I have a lot of church in my past, and I've grown up to love it. It's been a place of great support for me. So my experience with videoing things in and around church just started at All Saints. We've been there 17 years now. And I had the gear, so we just started videoing the Easter Vigil or the pageant or one of our associate rectors' first service or last service, and just to have them on record. Most of it's never been seen. We shared it, but we just knew that we thought it was worthwhile to have it. And then as we got deeper into that process, we started to get a little bolder with what we wanted to try to do. I'll preface this to say that, again, we're just not experts at any of this stuff. So a lot of the stuff we've tried has not worked, and some of the things have worked very well. I have some handouts that I'm going to pass out to discuss that. But I think that more than focusing on the technical aspects of how to make a video, I put links in here. I'll show you some very simple things because my experience is minimal in that. But one of the things that we found is the question of why are we making these videos is so much more important than how we do them. So I say if anybody is nervous about the technology of making videos, we have steps in here to dispel that, and I'm a huge believer in outsourcing things and finding creative ways to pay for it besides money that we've had tremendous luck with. So we'll talk about all that kind of stuff. But, so just to kind of walk through some of the things. So who is the video for? Is it for people in your own church? And I think that this is a default mechanism that we found over the years is we're like, well, let's make a video that we like to see, right? And let's showcase the things that make us happy and warm and fuzzy, and that might be the point of one of your videos. And if it is, then that's fantastic. But I think it's just valuable to know. Or is your video for church people that don't go to church at all? Is your video for church people that have been hurt by other churches? Is your video for people that have never even been to church? I think the value of spending time ahead of time to really dig into that makes what you shoot and what you share way more valuable. And in the course of that, if your audience is, and you guys probably know all this stuff, so I'm probably repeating stuff you already all know, but what we found is that if your audience truly is going to be people that are not in your congregation, then be very leery about using a lot of the verbiage that is comfortable to you. And I've listed some things and you're going to know 10 times as many, but Eucharist and service and rector and vestry and Book of Common Prayer, evensong, and all these things that when we were making our first ones, we're like, oh, okay, let's point out what all these things are. And then if somebody that doesn't go to the Episcopal Church, I didn't grow up in the Episcopal Church, I didn't even know what those were, and I was familiar with church. So be leery about that if your goal is to reach out to people that are outside of the church. There's also 1,000 different reasons to shoot your video, technically. Is it to do a once-over, welcome to All Saints, welcome to St. James, welcome to St. Peter's, and I'll show you an example of one that we did for All Saints. If it's just like, we're going to throw the whole kitchen sink at you, we want you to have one video just to see that. But you could also have that for a particular ministry of the youth making their own video, the music making their own video, the worship service, the sages, any of those kinds of things. And what you'll find is that, and they found this in entertainment circles in the studios, is that the shorter these videos are, the more the people will watch them. So what may seem like an interesting 8-minute thing to you, or to me, isn't necessarily to somebody that's flipping around for the first time. And some of ours are longer than we probably would have made them, and we regret that, and we learn from it as we go. But look at, what is the reason for your particular video? Is it the whole church or the ministry as a whole? And I have some examples of that I'll share with you. I think one of the overarching things that we've come to realize is that text on your website and with your pamphlets are a great way to share information. Like, those are the details of the church, of what services you have and when they are, and what your mission statement is, and all those kinds of things. Like, that's a very easy thing to see in block text. And what we've come to realize is that video is the chance to show the spirit of the place. And every church has a very different spirit. Our church, I don't know if people know All Saints Beverly Hills at all, but for a number of years we had a rector named Carol Anderson who retired 8 years ago or something like that. And now our rector is Steve Huber. Carol Anderson had a spirit of excellence. Like, that was her thing, that if worship was done, or there was a Wednesday night class that was done, or there was a video that would be done, then it needs to be done excellent from A to Z. But Steve Huber is a very different kind of rector, and his church that he's guided has been more of a, hey, we're in this together, let's utilize the gifts of the people and figure this thing out as we go. And there's a much more organic kind of feel to the church that has now. So I would say the spirit of your videos is going to be really important. Every church that I've ever been around has beautiful space, has wonderful people that do wonderful things. Like, I think that's just a given about, hopefully, most churches. And I think photographs do a good job of showing what space looks like and what people are. But this is the time to really think about, why is Good Shepherd different than St. James, which is different than St. John or St. Mark's? And not in a competitive way, but the spirit is just different at our All Saints versus St. James in the city, or St. Matthew's in the Palisades. And we have the advantage of the people in the parish are the ones making the videos, so I think the spirit of the place comes out in those videos just because we're the ones making them. But I would really have those conversations with your people and be really honest. Maybe one of our associate rectors is up in a kind of missional church, Godfrey Farrar, and it's a very small church. I can't remember the town it's in LA, but it is 25 parishioners when he started, and they're planting the garden, and they're playing music, and literally every hand on deck. So that spirit needs to be a part of what that video is. And there are certain people that, yes, that's what I want. I want to, and people from our church have gone to that church because of that. That they felt like, yes, I want to be needed. I want to be necessary for a church. I want to be hands-on. I want to be valuable. And then there's folks that came to All Saints, and they were like, I just want to plug in. Like, I've been involved, and I want to go to a parish that I can sit in the pew and just be a part of the worship experience. Well, those videos are very different in how they share, just like the messages are very different. So as you think about what's unique about your parish, and I've listed some of the things, and you'll have a ton more, but location of your church, of where it is really valuable to people, especially in big cities. The size of your place. Some people really want little churches, some people want big ones, some people don't care. the age of the people at your church. Some churches are much younger or much more seasoned than other churches, and I think that it's really worthwhile to let that spirit show. The ministries of the congregation, I know that there are congregations that are much more social initiative focused, and then some of them are much more kind of introspective service and spiritual perspectives. Like, let that come out, so it's not just a scratch and sniff of whatever it is that you're wanting to do. And volunteerism, like we've come around that. Like, let the rectors are incredibly important in your churches, and the staff are incredibly important, but most people interaction will be with the parish itself. So let those voices come out in your videos. So again, and I shared a little bit of the difference between our two rectors. And then as your parishioners come out, I think that we have people at our church that are very silly. We have people at our church that are very buttoned up. We have people at our church that are very prayerful and professional and funny and casual. And you're not going to capture all those, so just think about why you're sharing this thing, and all that kind of comes together. There's a variety of types of these videos. Like I said, there's that kind of all-in-one collage, and we have an example of that. And we just ripped it off from a company that did a video, and we just did our own version, which should help take some pressure off of you figuring out how to make your best one. But we've also made videos where our rector or a staff person was like, hey, welcome to All Saints, here's blah, 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 and their voice is the one that carries you through the whole experience. One of the ones we wanted to do, which would be really fun and less formal, is this kind of walk and talk, and we were just going to have one person that walks you through we really wanted to show the space of the church. So we were going to have one person that takes you through the sanctuary, and then they're like, this is where blah, blah, blah happens. Cameras moving with them, they hand it off, next person's like, hey, and then we're going through the hallways, and this is, so it becomes this kind of fluid example of like, this is what worship space looks like, this is where kids are playing, and maybe they're peeking in while the kids are playing, and you're like, oh, that's what a kid's classroom looks like. And we hear giggles or we hear whispers. So there's just a lot of creative things that you can think about with these. There's no set ABC plan for any of this stuff, and I think that's probably why my stuff is not going to nail all that down for you, but because all of yours are different. Length, as I said, shorter is always better. It's really hard to make short videos, especially when you have all-in-one kind of goals. So one of our all-in-one video, we actually will play it for you. We made fun of the fact that media says this video should be a certain length, and you'll see at the end of that we addressed that, and we made it exactly to what they said it should be. So, but shorter is always better. Always better. I think the exception that we've had to that rule is events. So if you're obviously doing a worship service, or you're doing a Wednesday night class or something like that, or a concert that they want to see the entirety of, that would go outside that rule. But as a whole, short, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 30 seconds, you will get more people to watch 30 seconds, 5 30-second videos than you will 1 4-minute video. It's just going to be way, especially the people that are going to watch videos on their phones or on their computer, that kind of an audience just wants to get a taste of it while they're in the car or walking out. And then if they like what we saw with, oh, here's 30 seconds about our worship service, then they're more likely to click on, here's 30 minutes or 30 seconds with our children's program, or with our 30s program, 20s, 30s program. So short. Technically, sound and lighting are important, and that's hard to do if you don't have a lot of gear. And I'm fortunate, so I have more gear than just doing it with your phone. The newer phones pick up, the quality's fantastic these days. We've shot videos with our phones, and I think they've actually shot some commercials with phones just to show that it can be done. But sound is a big one. You can fix sound issues we've used videos where we just put music in the background and said, let's just get rid of all the sound because it's not good, right? So we use one of our choir performances or one of the organ pieces, or we plugged in a recorded song, or we just recorded somebody separately doing the narrative. That was one of our videos that we just talked through the whole thing, and then we could add that in. But again, if you're doing 30-second ones about the youth and their trip, like, nobody cares. Young people and people that watch these videos are really looking more for authenticity of these videos than they are of, like, is this a glossy studio-made video? And I think that there's a lot of pressure that we do the same thing, and I do it all the time, that we put on ourselves of, like, well, it needs to be this, or what's the point of doing that, and then we don't ever make them. But young people, the more that we engage with them, they're like, just show me what a classroom looks like. I don't care if it's loud or quiet or what a youth group trip to the river looks like just show me and let me hear. Don't give me the church version of what this thing should be. So in those kind of cases, I think anything kind of goes. But normally, controlled environment with these videos is always a good thing. And if you're going to have somebody narrate, it's always good. If you don't have gear, and I'll show you ways to get access to gear without money. But if you're trying to do it yourself and you don't have gear, then just put them in a quiet room, record it on your phone. All these phones have technology now to do an amazing video or audio recording, and then you can just use that, and you'll be shocked at what that does. It's free. And you can do it 100 times over without worrying about it. So that's sound. Light is a huge issue as well. And again, most people know these things, but some very simple things are obviously you don't want light behind the person. I think, especially in church videos, we've done that all the time where we're like, well, this is where he's standing, so I'm going to film him. And we have this super bright light behind him, and then you can hardly see what his face looks like. So light you always want in front of somebody, not behind them. If there's a lot of light behind them, then you want to try to find a way to add some light to the front of them, right? You'll be shocked. The lower the light is that you record on your phone, it may look really good, but then you put it on a computer, and then you put it on a projector, and it starts to get really fuzzy very quickly. So light is hugely valuable. A lot of the stuff we try to do is outside because the sun is the best and it's free, and it always looks good. So take advantage of those kind of free tools for light, but again, light is always in front. And then the question is, who should do the talking? And then we address that a little bit. It's a complicated question, and I think there's a lot of ego that goes into the process of, okay, who's going to be the voice and the face of this thing? And I think the default is always rectors. And then the next one down is staff. And maybe for your churches, those are the perfect fit. We love our rector. He's fantastic. He's retiring in a couple of weeks. He is long-winded. So to put him on a video camera and say, give us a little welcome about a thing takes 7 minutes. And it's just the soul of it is amazing, but for the functionality of what you're doing, he's just not the best person. So it's easy for us to add little sound bits of him in. So just look within your parish of who that is. I would say somebody that smiles a lot is probably a good sounding voice to have on there. Somebody that's has a love for the place is a good spirit to have there, because again, if the person that's watching this is sitting in a bus or in their car 30 miles away, you can hear joy on camera. You can just hear it. You can hear somebody that is going through the motion, somebody that's like, well, here are the facts of our church. Again, the facts of your church are on your website probably, and they're on your bulletins. And if the person is the senior warden and you feel like they need to do it, but they're just a facts person, then that's a tricky thing, and you may find a way to put them in a small way. But really let joy be at the heart of these videos if you're going to put those together. Let laughter, let silliness, let the humanness of your congregation come through, and people that are jaded about church or have been burned by church or feel that the church does one thing, says one thing, they can tell the difference of that stuff. So I would say just pick who that is in your parish. And maybe that changes, maybe you do one different one every month. But really listen to the voices of who that is. And you might have people that would be great, but they're just nervous on camera. You know, we've had that with a lot of our clergy and staff over the years too, of you get them in a pulpit and they're fantastic, or a podium and they're great, and then you get them in front of a camera and it's a whole different thing. And I've done it for a long time, and I'm terrible half the time. So it really is, it's an organic process to put somebody on camera and let that come through. So think about that. Sometimes a pair works really well. I've done a lot of videos at our church where you have somebody that I was very close to bounce off of each other, and that takes a lot of pressure off. Instead of one person be the expert, or be David Letterman on there. Like, it just takes the pressure off when you have somebody else that can pick up when your brain starts to freeze. So that's the general stuff of kind of, you know, who should be talking. So now technical stuff. There are a myriad of styles and brands of software that are free to do these things. I've listed 3. One of them is a Mac-based one. It's called iMovie. It's on every Mac that you buy now. One of those is Windows Movie Maker, and that's more for PCs. And one of those is an amazing program called DaVinci Resolve. It's probably a little more complicated, but it's free, and it can work on either of them. There's 50 more of those. So I just put those on there because they're the ones that are accessible to everybody. The thing about iMovie, and we'll walk through here, is that they've worked really hard to make it simple. That it may not functionally do the stuff that big editors would use, but they've made it really easy to just drag stuff in there and move it around. So I'm going to show a little bit about what that looks like, but what I've done is put some links in here to tutorial videos. They are way better than I'll ever do, even if I was a tech person, to go through this, because you could just rewind, watch it again, and just Google them all the time. So if you're looking at how in the world do I make better sound on my videos, or how do I import video into my latest thing, there's a tutorial video of somebody that's an expert in that for everything you could ever imagine. So I gave a general one for iMovie, for Windows Movie Maker and DaVinci Resolve that'll get you the idea of how it works. And they're great. Like, these people this is what they live. You have access to people that, you know, are professionals in this stuff for free, and you can just watch it over and over again. But I'll give you an example of iMovie. Okay, so iMovie is, I don't know if you can see this, on the bottom, it's in the tray of most people's Macs, and if not, then you can just go into the Launchpad. How many people are Mac people, or have Macs in their church? Or it's about half. So for the Mac people, that's what I am most comfortable with. You can open, you know, your Launchpad, and it'll show you all the things, and it's in there as well. So iMovie is Apple's version of a very simple, user-friendly, all-in-one, free video maker. So what I did is I'm just going to delete all this stuff and rebuild it, and it won't be good. But it'll show you the ease with which you can do this. Okay, so the first thing is I'll just put some random videos on my desktop. And so you would have, if you recorded something on your phone and you plugged your phone into your camera, it automatically puts them on your computer. So I've just put mine on the desktop to make this fast. But if not, then it's in your photos or your video library. Apple's automatically sync it on. You might have it on a different hard drive. If you plug your hard drive, it's the same process. You open it up. But so here's how easy they make it is. So let's say we're opening, we have a brand new project, and I'm going to start with this video. We shot, as Hannah said, we shot a short film last year called Reconcile, and the theme of it was the challenge of learning to love the other, whoever that other is in your life. And our story is an LGBT-focused story, and it was about a parishioner that grew up in church in Knoxville, Tennessee, and as he was coming to realization that in his teens that he was gay. The pastor there was spewing hate speech, and he realized that it was geared towards people like him. He didn't go to church for 27 years. Heard about some lesbian friends in Los Angeles that were being baptized at the church, at our church. He was like, if they're doing that there, then I should try it. And he came, and now he's the treasurer. So this is a story kind of inspired by his life. So we shot this film, and not the Archbishop, the
Presiding Bishop
did a video introduction for it. So let's say you had that video here, and I have it on my desktop, and all you do is you highlight it, and then you drag it in. Super simple, and it's already in your timelines. There's no kind of technical thing. And let's say, okay, I have that video, and maybe that little video is your rector doing an introduction, and now we want to go towards some footage that we shot of Sunday school thing. So let's just say that happened to be this one here. So you drag it in, and they're already kind of back to back. Now each of these are way longer. I think they're both 7 minutes, so they make it super simple. You click on the file, and then you can just slide it together and shorten it to whatever you want. It's really, really easy. And if you ever make a mistake, there's an undo button. You can just go File, or Edit, Undo, Trim. Anything you do, it's built to undo whatever you did. So no mistake. And let's say this one is too long too, so I shorten it. You're like, okay, perfect. I have my introduction. I have a video that I shot on the patio, and I'm sticking that in. Now I want to, I should probably put a title on the front of it, just so people know what place this is. So then you could just click on Title, and then they have, these things have a million different creative ones built in, but let's say you want to do a very simple one. So I'm just going to do Standard, I highlight it, and I drag that to the beginning. Right now it's 4 minutes long, so I'm just going to squeeze that together too. So now it's 2 seconds long. So I click on it, and it already gives me a place up here of, okay, what do you want your text to be? So I'm going to get rid of these things. And so now I just want the name of my church. So I'll put St. James Parish. And then maybe down here you can put www.stjames.org. Within this, you can change the font of it, you can change the size, you can change the color, like all these things are built in here. We can make it, say this is too small, we can make it, different size, we can make them different fonts. It's just like any word processing, they made it really simple to do that. So now that's there, and so now you can start it and be like, okay, so now you just push the space bar, 2 seconds of St. James. This is the reference.
So, and welcome to this gathering focusing on the work of reconciliation.
You're like, okay, that looks really good. It's still way too long. So let's say I fast forward to the end of his little speech.
Created by the one God who created us all.
Still too long.
And that means we're related.
I should have squeezed it. There we go.
Reconciliation.
Okay.
That is the work that you are about. And indeed, that is the work of the Jesus movement in this world. St. Paul said it this way in 2 Corinthians. God was in Christ reconciling the world to himself.
Okay, so we shortened it. So now this is the front of the new one, and it's going in, and you're like, okay, now it's going to start up, and this was some behind the scenes footage of the movie we did. So that's essentially how you would just layer it together. You could do 10 of those together and just squeeze it down to have 10 seconds of each of them. Right now, there's no transition between that, but they make it really easy. You could click on transition up here, and if you want to get really creative, the simple one that they always have is cross dissolve. So, so let's say we'll put it in here. Those are the things that take you between. And so if we were at the end of,
St. Paul said it this way in 2 Corinthians.
and you'll see it kind of fade out, which always makes it look professional.
The world to himself.
And then fade into the new one. And you can make them long fades, short fades, or you can do, there are all kinds of stuff. So now let's say we wanted to change that, we didn't like it. So now we want it to be this, I don't even know what this thing is, doorway.
God was in Christ reconciling the world to himself.
So there's gimmicky ones, there's professional, and that one did a split. That's what's so great about this software is you can sit and play with it a million different ways. And then maybe you wanted at the end of your video, you're like, okay, that was great. Now I need to do one more title at the end. That's, you know, worship 8 a.m. or whatever that is, stuff you want to share. Like, okay, I kind of hooked them in the video where I shared what it is, and then maybe it's, okay, now youth services at 10 a.m. Or maybe you wanted to do you can do a scrolling thing too that allows for, like, let's say we did this one instead. We go in there and then we say, maybe we want to list all of the missional work that we do. So we could say a homeless meal, and then we return. And then we say prison ministry, and then we return, and we say Honduras, because we do Honduras every year, ministry, and we'll say there. So then it allows, when you play it, you could just scroll up of like, here's all these things in, or maybe the people's names that you have in this, so starring, and maybe that's one of the fun things about this video is you want to showcase the Christmas pageant, and then you put in there, you know, starring Joe and Billy and Sally. And, it's really easy. Windows Movie Maker for the PC people is the same. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
We have a problem. You're just dragging stuff down.
Yes.
Or what have you filmed the stuff on? Because this is the level we're at.
Yes.
We can't film stuff and get it on the computer to easily manipulate.
Yeah.
Can I just ask what you use to film that, and what's the best way of getting it on the desktop?
Yeah, exactly. So everything that's on my desktop here is not an iPhone. So we'll just say that. So we've shot a lot of this stuff. So we just did a video here. And this is just one of those Canon 5D cameras that's your normal point and shoot cameras that's got a lens on it. And a lot of them do video now. And they're really nice for what they do. If you go something that route, I didn't bring mine with me, but it has the video card that you can pop out. Some computers have the slot that's right. This one has it right on the side of the computer. If not, I bought, and I think it's $11 or something, a reader that holds all the kinds of cards. It plugs into your computer. You put that card in, and it'll pop up. I'll show you here. What will happen is that you plug it into your computer. And this is the same if it was your phone or the card reader. It could be anywhere, but something will pop up right here, and it's like the new hard drive. So essentially, all those card readers act as an external hard drive. I wish I would have brought one with me. And a thumb drive is the same thing. So if you pop it on there, you open up this external hard drive. Let's say that it's one of these. It looks like a folder. You open it up, and it'll have all the videos you did. And so let's say that this first thing was a video. I open the folder and it's a video. All you do is you can leave it there, or what I like to do is I just drag it onto my desktop. So now, whatever my video folder was that was on the card reader, I just drug there so it's easy to have. And now when you're in Movie Maker, you can just kind of slide this anywhere, and then if this won't work because it's not a video. But if it was a video, you would just slide it on there and pop it in. So that's if you did a card reader. If you do an iPhone, it works the same way. So you plug your iPhone probably into a USB drive. And again, I don't know PCs nearly as well. But on Macs, it'll recognize it right away. It pops in and asks if you want to import the video. I wish I would have my video. And you could just say yes. And then what that does is all of those videos, photos, whatever you did, will go, most of the time it'll be dropped into photos. And that's where it'll naturally put them. And then you can open up photos, and then it'll have your thing there, and it's the same deal. Make sure I don't put anything revealing on here. And then let's say this was the photograph you just took in the church. You're in your photos, and now it's the same deal. I just drag it to the desktop, and it must have Yeah, and now it's over here, so it's the same. So for me, I mean, there's a more efficient way to just leave it here, but I like to just have it on the desktop and then drag it in. So you can do that from a phone or from one of those cameras.
So I'm just experimenting here, so I videoed you for,
Yep.
and I could share it via a text message, which is probably too big for that.
Yeah.
I could email it to myself.
Emailing
I suppose that would work.
Email is great. The longer the video is, the bigger the file
Yeah.
is going to be. So if you shoot a 3-minute interview with somebody, that's going to be a difficult thing to email. And that's easiest to plug in there. But if it's a 30-second thing,
But I'm also looking like I can save to Drive. Again, I don't know, because I've got like Google Drive off of the phone. So
Yeah.
I can save it to the Drive perhaps that way.
Yeah.
But if you plug your phone into your computer, your phone acts like another drive.
Will it?
You can
Okay.
access it.
yeah, that's
I can
for
trust
me.
that, okay.
There's a whole bunch of new cloud-based stuff that phones will do, and I'm not great at that. To me, I just use the charger cord that came with my phone, and I plug it in. It's just a USB connector.
Yeah.
As soon as you plug it into your computer, it finds it, and then I just drag it.
Okay.
So that's what I do. And you could do that. Let's say you shot video, but somebody else is gonna edit the video.
Yes.
You could put it on your computer, put a little thumb drive in there, drag it, and make that be your
And then
external,
hand-
and
okay.
hand it to them. But I know there are cloud-based ones. I've done it with, if you put it on your computer, there's websites that'll do it. So WeTransfer is one that I use all the time. That it's a website, it's free for up to 500 gigabyte size file, and you can say, okay, upload this, and I can show you that if that's helpful. Upload this, and then send it to these 4 people's email address, and then they can download the file directly. Dropbox does the same thing.
Okay.
People do Dropbox.
So I could, once I got it on my computer, I could put it in a Dropbox, a shared folder, somebody could access
Exactly, and I'll pull up that website to show you. Yes.
And I'm sure GoPro cameras look the same. And
Yeah.
I know when you talk about being easy to do, I got a 10-year-old grandson in
Yeah.
Chicago that literally blows my mind about once a week. with
Yeah.
Videos that he personally, with no help from anybody,
Yeah,
produces himself, puts it, he likes to use YouTube.
yeah,
So he'll put it on YouTube and we sit at home and watch our grandson in the movies.
yeah.
And he's 10 years old.
It's remarkable what technology has done. Technology has made the quality, what used to be a big camera now can be this little one. They've made it so you can move the camera around and it's not blurry anymore. I mean, GoPro's famous for that. iPhones are famous for that. Like they can just follow stuff, especially the newer the phone, every new phone is even better. It's just remarkable what took people thousands of dollars to color and clean up sound. 5 years ago is not the case. You might find that the kids in your church probably make some of the best videos
Yeah.
that you're going to want to make anyway.
Smarter than me.
And they're fearless. I have a 14-year-old and a 9-year-old, and they don't care about pushing the wrong buttons where we do. And they're way more creative than I am about shooting it from here, putting the camera here, putting their phone here, and trying, being silly, and they're fearless about that stuff. It's a great way to incorporate youth into the activity of your church, because this is where they thrive. Let me show, I'm talking so fast because good time. So we have 20 minutes, is that right? 2:15?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So before I go to the website, so one of the websites that I've used before is called WeTransfer. I don't have any internet. It's called WeTransfer.com. It's a really simple website. You go to it and it just says, what file do you want? And it's the same process. You would take this video here, you would drag it onto the website, just like I did on the thing. Drag it on the website and it automatically uploads. That's all it takes to do that. And then you just type in, it says who do you want to send it to, and you type in Reverend so-and-so or Sally. And it could be 5 people. And then once it's uploaded, they can download it, you could re-download it, they could forward it to somebody else. It's a great way to do that. Dropbox, a lot of people do Dropbox. So Dropbox essentially turns into like a big hard drive, and it's like iCloud is, and you can put all kinds of stuff up there. And then the more people you want to invite to it, you could have a folder that, in Dropbox, that 3 people are allowed access to, and then the next folder, 5 people are allowed, and maybe only 1 person for this one. So people could all throw if a bunch of people had their own video footage or their stills, they could throw it all in there and share. Google Drive does the same thing. My kids use that at school all the time on their PCs. And they're all free, which is great. You can pay more for big professional levels, but they're all free. They're really simple to use now. But I wanted to spend a couple minutes, now that we talk about like some of the logistics of how. One of the things I've come to, and I'm around this stuff all the time, is I have become acutely aware of what I'm not good at. And there are people that are way better at this stuff, clearly, as you've seen today, than I am. So I use Craigslist all the time to find people that are really good. And one thing that I found over the years about creative people is that creative people just want to do projects. They want to do, most of them, if they're editors or videographers, or most of them make their money doing stuff that's not very inspiring to them, shooting McDonald's commercials or shooting, you know, a local bank or whatever that is. They love being invited into something that allows them to be creative, maybe is less, more freedom to them. So I use Craigslist for almost every project, and I've shot movies that I've crewed up for people on Craigslist, and it's free. So has anybody used Craigslist before? So Craigslist is a website, and Craigslist.org, I think, and you go by city onto it. And it's anything you imagine. They have a whole section on I'm selling stuff, or I want to buy stuff, or I want to hire people, or whatever. So I always go to, I have a gig, I want to hire somebody for a gig. And what I found is, the more honest you are about what it is you want to do and who you are and what you can pay or can't pay, it's remarkable the people that come out and want to take part in stuff. So if you're nervous about doing something good, because that's just not your thing. Like, I love writing sermons, or I love doing pastoral care in hospice, but it's not my thing, and we're too small of a group to do that. Try the Craigslist route. And there are a million things you could do to offer them that have nothing to do with paying. We've done this many, many, many times. So I've listed some of those things that might be in your parish. Maybe you have people that work at restaurants, or maybe you have people, some of you have probably done silent auctions in your churches already. But you could use those same things to pay somebody creative that could do in 3 minutes what the rest of us take 7 days to do of frustration. So people that work hotels, or people that teach yoga, or do massages, or have movie tickets, or could do behind the scenes at whatever. I've listed some of those, and you probably have your own. And then what I did is I listed, a possible verbiage for an ad on Craigslist that just says, hey, listen, we're a local church. The great thing about Craigslist is it's completely anonymous when you post. It sends out an anonymous email to everybody else, so you'll get a bunch of replies and they have no idea. You can tell them as much or little about you. So you can say we're a local church here in San Diego, or we're a small local Episcopal church here in San Diego, and make it vague but give a little bit more information. And say we want to make some really creative videos, and unfortunately we just don't have the resources to do that kind of stuff. But we are open to creative ideas of how to, pay you for your time. And would love to hear about that. And then I always add a line there of, like, if you're interested, then share some of what your experience and your kind of gear is. It weeds out some of the people. You'll probably get 75 responses that you'll have to weed through. Some of them are, little kooky, and then some of them are spot on, and they're like, listen, I've done this for 10 years, and now I just want to do my own thing. I grew up in churches too. You'll be amazed at why somebody would say yes to doing something for your church. So you could kind of craft that, and then you'll get them all, and then you could respond, and it's still anonymous until you respond to them. So you could take your time reading through them and be like, oh, this person sounds really sweet. And a lot of them will send links to their websites. You could go to their website and look at the stuff that they've done on their own. But I found that it's an amazing resource to take the pressure off of you, and let you do what you do well, and let other people do what they do well. There's some churches that are like, hey, we're really excited to crack into this, so this is perfect to use iMovie and all this stuff. But there are a lot of places that just give me somebody that does this so I can go about because I'm already stretched thin, right? Like I think most staff people are at churches. You will be shocked, and we have the benefit of living in Southern California, so we're not in, my parents' church is in Manhattan, Kansas. There are not a lot of videographer, editing people at the same level that you have in Southern California. So you utilize that. These people have bought thousands of dollars worth of equipment and software, and they can do really spectacular things. You might shoot all your own stuff and just ask them to edit it for you, or you might have them do both, or maybe they just guide you. One of the things besides gift certificates and all that stuff you could offer is a lot of them are looking for credibility. You know, and the church adds that. So if they're building their business, so maybe they worked for a post-production company for 15 years, and now they want to go solo, it's really valuable for them to have recognizable names of clients. And so a lot of them will do it because, hey, nothing's more credible than a church to have on there. And because most of them start off with some mom and pop pet store that nobody's ever heard of, and you wonder, is that a legitimate thing? But churches add a lot of value to folks, so to utilize that, and it's wholesome and warm, so you will be surprised. So if doing it yourself is not your thing, Craigslist is fantastic. I put a little bit on there of like where to put these videos. So once you have them, what do you do with them? Your website could host them directly, and if you have a webmaster that deals with that kind of stuff, some of these files are bigger than others, and you need servers that handle all that, and some churches have all that stuff in place. What a lot of places do is they just put them on Vimeo or YouTube. You could create your own channel on either of those, and then just put all your videos in there, and you can make them public, or you can make them need a password, or whatever that is. And then your webmaster, if you have a website, could just put that link and go straight to Vimeo, and it's really super simple to do that. Vimeo is cleaner as a website. It's more professional. Website, there's less ads and all that kind of stuff that you see all over YouTube on Vimeo, but it's also not as searched as often as YouTube. So if your video is something that you're just trying to get out into the ether, then YouTube is where a lot of people go to look up stuff, but you'll pay the price because there'll be ads and all that kind of other stuff. So those are probably the two most, they're both free. Vimeo allows you to send a number of them up there before you need to start paying. So, and that's what our church does, is all on video.
Okay, so if you have a website,
Yeah.
you can put a link on that website that sends you to
Yeah.
Vimeo.
It's just a copy and paste. Yeah, and it takes you right to Vimeo, and Vimeo has the built-in processors to play it well. And you can put an image up there for the link. It's very, I don't do web, but that's all that we do is they just ask for the link, and it's very simple.
Copyright rules, what are they about using music in the background and about using images that are not, that are copyrighted or
Yeah.
brand names?
Yeah.
Or,
I mean, copyright rules are, and again, I'm not an attorney with this, but they are what you expect them to be, right? If you put a YouTube song on your thing, you'll probably get a lot of love for the video, but eventually it'll come back to haunt you. We've used music like that when it's in-house. We made a video that we wanted to show the congregation of the ski trip that the kids did, and so we threw some popular song on there. But as soon as you publish something that goes out, even if it's not being charged, nobody's paying for it, they will come. So you need to use your own music. And there's a ton, you could do the same Craigslist thing with musicians. Musicians are desperate to get attention for their work. So you can put the same ad on Craigslist and say, we're doing these videos, we need somebody that wants to write a little guitar thing, and you'll be blown away with the people, because most of them are at home desperately trying to get some attention for their talents. Same thing with the visuals. If you're filming all your own stuff, if you're filming your congregation, then you should probably communicate with them of what's going to be shared on, especially with kids. So we're always very clear about, hey, we're going to be filming this service, or we're going to do this kids thing, and if everybody has a problem, you know that on January 14th that will happen. Communication is always great for that. We've never had an issue with people within the parish. But yeah, if you shot, or if you use some video from some Rob Bell video that you wanted to put in there to make your point, then you would be in trouble. Yeah, so it's always best to use your stuff. And if you're talking about your congregation, then that's what people want to see anyways. They want to see your stuff.
And if you have something that you really love, write to the artist. I mean, they might surprise you. I've had painters and that kind of art say, sure, you can use it. Just say, use with permission, and thank you for asking. So you might be surprised.
I completely agree with that. Like, at that level of, everybody's is desperately trying to stay afloat in their own commercial world, especially artistic people. So if they're painters or they're digital, designers, churches bring a lot of credibility to what they do, and it's great for them to share, like, hey, my stuff has been used at St. Mark's in San Diego. Like, that sounds great. And there are so many win-win ways to take advantage of these things that don't require any work on your end. That's a great point. Yeah.
If someone is working with non-Apple equipment and they're working with a PC, Windows Movie Maker will do almost identical to what you were showing earlier. I've done hundreds with Windows Movie Maker and I put them on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's as simple as what you're
It's amazing. Before it was really proprietary. Like, they wanted to make it really hard for Apple people to use Mac or PCs. And now they have the option of, once you've made your video, you can output it into 50 different formats. And now YouTube and Vimeo are accepting of all 50 of those. So you're exactly right. It's so easy now. And I put that in some of my final thoughts. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I think we tell this to young people all the time that are wanting to get into film. They see, well, this is what they did. Well, I can't do that, so I'm not going to do it. Like, don't worry about that stuff. That's the great thing about videos. It's free. It's easy to delete. It's easy to change. Be authentic, like I talked about before. Like, don't worry so much about impressing with what these videos are. Just be true to what your congregation is and who you are. Shoot a ton of them. Shoot little ones, a ton of little ones. You might find that the thing that seemed most random, which was this Taizé service you did on a Tuesday, and you didn't even think to video it, but somebody had one on their phone, 1,000 people end up watching it and loving it. So you might use some of them, you might use none of them, but it's a great way to have it. You might find a year from now that you want to make a video about the Easter Vigil kids service then and now, and you'll be so glad that you had footage from 10 years ago when these kids were little and now they're big and they're Mary and Joseph instead of the wise men or whatever. And a hard drive holds so much. A $75 hard drive or $100 hard drive will hold more video than you could ever. So it's just easy to just keep putting it there in case. You might have your rector is getting retired. It's really powerful for you to be able to say, hey, listen, I had your first Eucharist with us on video from 9 years ago. We did that with a couple of ours that came and left. One of ours started a mission church in LA called Dads. And so I happen to have all the videos of his think tanks and his last service, his first service at Dads. And those are really, so those don't fall into the welcome video thing, but it's just, video is a powerful tool to remember this stuff. And again, lastly, just don't overthink it to the point where you don't do it. Have fun with it. It's a joyful thing. So those are my very quick final thoughts on that. Is there any other questions? Do you want to see anything? No?
We love you.
And so the ones I've referenced are brought to show are ones that intentionally we paid nobody to do. So we have varying degrees of, like the Reconcile one, we hired crews, and so there's no point in showing that to you here because that's not fair, because we couldn't replicate that. But so here's what we did, and it was a video we called This Is All Saints, and it was replicated from, this is the one we just stole from a company, and we wrote our own script. And again, this is one of the great things about art, is you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? Like you could find something that's out there that you love and make it your own thing. So we did this probably 6 or 7 years ago. We were kind of figuring all this out. A lot has changed, so we don't use it anymore because now we have different clergy on staff and all kinds of stuff.
This is All Saints. This is Steve, our rector. This is Barry, our other rector. And this is Allison, our other rector. We have infants, toddlers, tweens, and teens. We have 20s and 30s, and sages, and everything else in between. Even an animal or two. When people arrive at All Saints on Sunday, this is who greets them. Those people have other jobs, so when people arrive on any other day, Debbie Winchell is here to welcome them. Debbie is very nice. We worship together in many different ways. This is how we worship at 8 a.m. And this is how we worship at 10 a.m. And this is how we worship at 11:15. These are people preparing for the 8 and 10 a.m. service. And these are people preparing for the 11:15. These are ushers, and this is also an usher. All Saints has 3 choirs. They're pretty good. This is their fearless leader. All Saints also has a rock band. They're not bad either. This is Eucharist, where we share Christ's body and blood together. And this is Eucharist. And this is Eucharist. This is the recording ministry. They record the sermon. This is the bookstore where the sermons are available on CD immediately following the service. This is also where you'll find your lost keys, trumpet cap, and Simpson's coffee mug. The children of All Saints are a big...
All right, we're going to try to play with audio. This is why I want people to know what they're doing. It's a good thing.
This place. Here's where they hang out. In childcare, godly play, tiny church, the nest, and in the summer at Camp Camden. Once they're done with that, they are welcomed into the cast. Now it's time to get to work. This is the cast making bag lunches for the guests to take with them on Mondays. And this is the cast during the 30-hour famine and raising money to go to Navajo land. And this is the cast doing something very important. Here is Jean-Luc's famous banana bread and the always important donuts. This is the once-a-month brunch. This is a teddy bear sale for Get on the Bus. Here is the prayer team in action. This is what it takes to make Project Angel Tree a success. Here are the faces of Project Angel Tree. This is a food drive. This is a blood drive. There are more donuts for after the blood drive. These are newcomers on a newcomers tour, where they will see this fireproof vault where we keep records, not money, and an office that becomes a classroom, or a play space, or a meeting room. Here is Irman with our dumbwaiter. Every good church should have one. Sunday not enough? This is the Homeless Monday meal. Every Monday, about 150 people receive a hot meal. This is Ray in Maryland. They are here every Monday, even on Halloween. This is the band at the Monday meal, and the Monday prayer service, and these are the toiletries and tokens that are given out. This is the Tuesday staff meeting. This is the Wednesday dinner series. This is Stage's lunch on Thursday. This is a Friday night Taizé. It is very peaceful and prepares us to go into the world on Saturday to do things like medicine collection and sorting for the Honduras mission trip. These are some of the 1,000 people who receive medical care on the Honduras trip. The cast serving in Navajo land. This is the once-a-month brunch at the Gay and Lesbian Center. This is composting and learning about worm farms. Who doesn't love learning about worm farms? There are many sacred spaces at All Saints. This is a sacred space, and this, and this, 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 and this. This is where we are located, but this is where our parishioners live. And this is where we are working to make a difference. This is All Saints. And these are only a few of the things that you experience when you and All Saints come together. We could go on and on, but research says the best videos are 4 minutes and 11 seconds. Welcome.
Yeah. So that one was made, yeah. And that was all done by parishioners. And you'll see, some of those pictures are really good, and some of them are like, And it's just pooled together of people that had pictures. What we found is what we didn't have. They were like, okay, well, we'll take a picture or a video of it. We wrote a script for that one and fit the stuff to fit it, the media to fit it. But it was all done on a free video thing, and we just layered one piece. Now we had somebody, the person that edited it was an editor, which was great. He's a parishioner editor, and so that might be the kind of thing where you could do it, or the music was all public domain. Music was free. It just kept looping through the whole time in the background. So that's one that we did that was like kind of our all-in-one collage thing, which was a lot of work went into that one, collecting, and that wasn't a 2-day gig. But then we've done, are we okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So we shot that short film a year ago, and the response from it was such that we said, okay, let's go ahead and we're going to make a feature film. So we shot a feature film that had its LA premiere last Saturday. And it's called This Day Forward. And it's a true story about this worship leader in Iowa that was diagnosed with brain tumor at 38, Father, and how is your faith affected when the unimaginable hits? So that came out. Our premiere was Saturday. It was great. We had horrific technical issues that were devastating. So it happens all the time, even on a big. And there was 450 people there, and yeah, it was great and humiliating at the same time. So we made a little promo video that this would be one of those other kinds that we talked about. Like, hey, maybe you're just going to have a couple of people, and so this is myself and Colleen. So I directed the movie, and Colleen we were on vestry. We just both graduated off of vestry. And we were two of the people on vestry that were not the financial gurus or check writers. So our time on vestry was like, how do we activate gifts in the parish that are not financial? Because we're not the people that can really alter the financial standing of the church. And that's where these movies came from. It's like, well, maybe all the profits from this day forward go to the church. So it was funded by donations from the parishioners, and so she's one that
actual gifts that can really affect the church.
So you've made a film in Iowa. Tell me, why did we do this?
I think the idea came from our time on vestry, right? Steve, Colleen, and I. In the 4 years that we were on there, it became very clear that there are some
right
people.
Off the bat.
Yeah, exactly. That there are some people
Day one.
that have financial gifts that can really affect the church. And we all can to some extent, but there are also people that's not their strength at All Saints. And so we started having conversations about, well, how do we kind of activate the creative ability in All Saints to also benefit the church? So we tested that first. A little 5 or 6 people got together and said, let's shoot this little short film, Reconcile. And the response was such that now a group of like 8 or 9 people said, well, let's try something bigger and more ambitious. And this movie came from that. And I think the goal of it was twofold. One was, can we share stories about a faith journey that are different than a typical faith-based media? And then, God willing, maybe it's successful enough that it benefits All Saints financially as well. So the movie is about a young family in Iowa, husband and wife, 3 daughters. The husband is a college professor of vocal music. He is a worship leader at a large Lutheran church, and he kind of fronts a rock band. And at 38, he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And the question that arises is, how is your faith affected when the unimaginable hits? And it's different for all kinds of people. And for him, it was illness. And I think one of the things that struck us was, as a worship leader at a church, how does he get up every Sunday in front of 1,000 people singing about the glory of God while his life is being ripped away from him? And I think we were drawn to that. We don't know the answers to that, and this movie doesn't try to answer that, but it shines a light on people and their journey, so hopefully others will feel less alone on their own journey.
And it's a true story. It's friends of Brian from college, Wartburg College.
Yeah.
How do you feel about having a movie this about your life being filmed here? It's emotional. That's a good feeling, right? It's okay, Mike.
My involvement was to basically support Brian and
to
to actually be the liaison between.
So this was a video we made for the parish itself, and so all the pictures in here are parishioners. But that was a video that we knew that we had most of the information to share, so we just said, okay, we're going to sit there and talk and then just fill it in. So the rest of the video is flash away. So it's a very different kind of approach to what that first one was, where there were no experts in that first one. But then the last thing that we've done is we shot little, and these were 30-second videos with no editing at all, of all of our staff people. And we found that it was really impactful. So we could go to Debbie Gower and say, okay, as Director of Engagement, hi, I'm Debbie Gower, this is what I do, and this is my space. And then on the website, the goal of that is on the website, you could have the rector or the director of music or the youth, and somebody say, oh, Carlin's the girl that does all the youth ministries. I heard her name, and I read it, but I didn't realize who it was, and now I know that. And those took no editing at all. It was just a video, a phone, and a thing. So So there are super short ones, there's complex ones, and then everything in between. So that's a little sample of some of the stuff we've done. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So thank you. I hope that that's helpful in some way.